Hi everyone, we are here with Pınar. She is CEO of Koç Finans, which is financial subsidiary of Koç Holding. Koç Holding is the biggest group of companies in Turkey. I'm Rıdvan. I'm co-founder of All for Agile, which is agile coaching and consultancy company in Turkey. And we are working together with Pınar in agile journey of Koç Finans.
Yeah. Hi Rıdvan.
Hi Pınar. Pınar, very welcome, and let's start with valuable questions. Actually, I have lots of questions in my mind, but of course we have time box. So could you tell us about dealing with crises in the emerging country business life, and especially the Koç perspective on this?
Sure. Being in a developing country makes it more difficult in many aspects. On the other hand, we are more familiar with volatility. A major turbulence happens every 4 to 5 years, and the causes are not only financial, but happens to be an earthquake or a political unrest or some other unexpected event. Every crisis is different, of course, but they share a common intense VUCA environment.
Yeah, sure.
The economic impact of a crisis may be more severe in the developing world. The developed countries have big financial support and monetary easing packages backed by their hard currencies. We don't have that luxury here.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But emerging countries have an upside on the soft skills side. In return, Turkish people are considered to have an entrepreneurial spirit, to be flexible and highly adaptive.
That's by nature for our community, right?
Exactly. We have developed strong muscles around living with volatility. And in the pandemic, we have seen advantages of this. Turkey has a low mortality rate, well below global averages. And this is thanks to health workers' resilience to heavy work, applying experimental treatments which turned out to be very effective, sharing of good practices among hospitals countrywide, a quite agile way of doing things indeed.
Yeah, yeah.
The business life is not an exception to this adaptive mindset. What we know for sure is that this has an end, will be over sooner or later, like every crisis. So let's focus on minimizing the impact rather than panic.
Yeah.
Let me come to our perspective. Koç Holding has a history of more than 90 years. A diverse conglomerate with business ranging from oil refinery to automotive production, from banking to hospitality services and retail. We have a global footprint with operations in more than 60 countries. And the group comes out even stronger from crisis periods and all ups and downs in the country. Rıdvan, I believe we owe this resilience to our purpose-driven culture. Koç is grounded by clear corporate values. And the first one is we prosper only if our country prospers. This value puts social goals right next to business goals and means doing business by taking the benefit of the society into account. And not only business, the group owns hospitals, a university, started foundations, actively participates in building and managing NGOs. UN Women He for She initiative, for example, is led by Koç in Turkey. And I can state many more. So working for Koç, doing business with Koç, buying from Koç, makes you feel you contribute to that greater purpose. Another people-related value is we believe our strongest asset is our people. Equal treatment and opportunities to all the employees, hiring and keeping the best talent, and investing in development are the 3 pillars of the HR approach. And this puts Koç in the first 50 of the world's best employers list. And these values I mentioned are not just hang on the walls, but internalized at company and personal level and are reinforced in every occasion. We care for our people, our customer, and the broader community. And I may say that Koç is a good example of a social enterprise.
Yeah, obviously it's not easy approach for a business enterprise. So could you give us some examples of good practices around these social enterprise values from this last crisis?
Of course, for social impact, I can give the example of the home appliances company. They engineered and produced respiratory devices in a factory in Turkey, and this was totally out of their area of expertise.
That was really a great example.
Yes, it created a good effect. And they did it in as short as 1 month. They used their own engineering capability, but also worked in close collaboration with a medical startup, engineers from outside partners, and the health department. From the very beginning, the group hotels welcomed the health workers free of charge. Automotive factories, for example, produced many medical supplies and devices needed at hospitals, all for free. On the people perspective, around the 3 pillars I have mentioned, the main focus was on safety and good health of the employees. So an intense and multi-layered communication was present from the first day. Group loyalty program benefits are available to all employees as a support for purchasing power. There were uplifting video messages from the members of the China team to all employees. As you know, China was almost over this when Europe has just started.
Sure.
We have an online academy platform for business-related trainings. With the pandemic, many short videos were added to this platform from medical doctors on pandemic topics, hygiene, isolation, as well as psychological support and many other self-development content. The sports club, on the other hand, arranged online training programs on Instagram and YouTube, not just for employees, but also for families. And these were ranging from early morning yoga to exercises for the elderly. A WhatsApp chatbot was launched to answer all possible questions in mind on the pandemic. And in a short time, we opened up the online academy and the sports club content to the general public with hundreds of videos. And this resulted in millions of clicks and views from all over the country. And it inspired many to start similar supports. In short, the response of the group was not to compromise values and focus areas, on the contrary, to hold on to them.
Yeah, you listed lots of initiatives, Pınar. How could you come up with in a short time? That's another important part.
Yes, the headquarters HR department was already working with agile practices. You know that, Rıdvan.
Yeah, sure.
And they quickly regrouped in new teams according to arising needs. And all these actions were formulated with a design thinking methodology, working with many personas to cover every need segment, and getting insights directly from employees with frequent surveys. Most important of all, the main idea was maintaining the good health and job security of our people and not laying off across the group companies. And every employee felt that. Business leaders of the group are active members of the NGOs, so they work closely with government officials in shaping the legislative action to fight the economic impact on the Turkish business world, again, by putting job security and employment to the first place.
We may assume that, as ordinary people, being social enterprise and conducting profitability are in contrast, right? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts in this point of view, Pınar?
Rıdvan, I believe they go hand in hand rather than contradict.
Should be.
Another important pillar of the global vision of Koç is sustainable and profitable growth. You cannot put people first if you don't have the financial strength to do that, of course.
Yeah, of course.
So to survive and prosper in an uncertain, volatile, complex environment, sound financial management, strong cash flow, and a financially savvy leadership team is necessary over all measures. I like the quote by Warren Buffett. He says, "You never know who swims naked until the tide goes out." And totally. I can say that nobody swims naked. So business heads concentrated on an effective cash flow management, cost reduction, and resource optimization. You may have necessary policies, KPIs in place to limit the negative impacts of the financial crisis, like the one we had in 2008. But this pandemic was beyond all risk scenarios.
Real different.
Yes, well, it was there, but at the high impact, very low probability quadrant of the risk matrix, and you don't focus on that quadrant first.
Yeah.
So knowing your numbers and keeping your funding lines open buy you precious time to prioritize the people side and to support your ecosystem with liquidity. This culture of financial fitness provides the group the necessary resources to continue making investments and grow no matter how discouraging the economic environment is.
Yeah, those are hidden strengths for being a huge enterprise, I guess. So what about the changing leadership role in business life, which was already apparent before the crisis as well, but much more needed now to better adapt to the accelerating digitalization after the pandemic experience?
Being in mostly incumbent businesses, the group started a transformation initiative led by the CEO himself to benefit from the opportunities brought by digitalization rather than be disrupted by it. The focus is on growing in Turkey and globally through technology ownership and innovation. The people-first mindset puts the cultural transformation to the core of this change. You lead with people and the business will follow. No cultural change can be successful if it doesn't start with the leaders. First, the leadership team has to go through a transformational journey themselves and then cultivate an environment where people can learn, develop and adapt. We are all aware that this new reality requires being close to the customer, learning by experimenting, and fast adaptation. It's no longer the managers who have the right answers, Rıdvan, but it's the ones working closer to the customer.
Totally.
The ones using analytical tools, ML, AI, to get insights from the customer. This requires empowering teams and relying on data, a totally different leadership style where you're no longer the one who is telling what to do, but someone who provides the appropriate space for people to flourish and come up with ideas and then have the courage and necessary skills to make that happen.
Sure.
So the development programs for leaders were designed to accomplish this mind shift. Personal development is at the center, and separate programs were designed for top, middle, and potential managers, and they are in themselves considered as best in class in global standards. The classes are mixed with participants from multiple affiliates, operating in multiple sectors to enable cross-fertilization. And the content of the program includes modules on discovering yourself with coaching support, modules on creative servant leadership style that is needed for change, as well as design thinking and agile. It even includes a retreat in the mountains to reconnect with the nature and the world we live in. And that was the best part, actually.
Right.
Lots of mindfulness exercises and sharing of experiences, as well as hands-on workshops. And through these programs, leaders share a common ground and perspective to lead the change.
Yeah. It's fine for leaders to be a servant leader, but how is this leadership approach is translated to your organization?
Back from the program, we were convinced that if we were to better respond to the fast-changing financial services world, we have to apply agility company-wide. We were already doing agile in our IT, but to be agile from a business perspective, we thought we must start from ourselves as the leaders. And with your help, dear Rıdvan, we have built the leaders team as the first business team and named it Pitstop. We named it Pitstop because we are here to serve the company team, provide tools, grease the wheels, and clear their way out of any obstacles, and we have to be fast in doing this. We, the top managers, started applying agile practices in our everyday life.
Yeah, sure. That was really great name as Pitstop. Could you give us some tips transparently from Pitstop?
Of course, this brought us huge benefits, like making the strategic priorities clear and collectively owned by the team. It brought transparency because our backlog and board is open to everyone, and we purposefully invited all the company to come and see our board. We became a role model to the business teams, showing how it's easy and more fun to work this way. We in return had more empathy towards the new teams. On the other hand, making a team agreement and going through retros reminded us our values and our vulnerabilities and created a stronger bond between us. And on our journey to build the business teams, we witnessed how quick the teams are to come up with ideas, wonderful ideas actually, and strive to even outperform their targets. I'm personally a strong believer of walking the talk and experimenting. Our team is running the 15th sprint now, and we are making the most out of prioritizing the backlog, dailies, and retros in managing the pandemic issues as well.
That's also a good example for leading by example. That's also great. That would be inspiring for any other organization and also leaders. What are your last suggestions to attendees and business leaders to better manage the crisis?
Managing the pandemic phase is behind now, and building the recovery and imagining the life after is replacing that. The impact happened to be very different across industries, Ridwan. Some businesses will have to restructure, some will grow even faster. We try to discover what will be permanent and what will fade away after the pandemic. Our first reaction is cutting costs usually, but there is a limit to defensive cost management strategies. You grow fat in easy days, you don't realize it, but you do.
Yeah.
And now you want to get rid of that. And like in every fitness program, you want to lose the fat, but keep the muscles.
Yeah.
So be careful not to overdo the cost cutting. Now it's time to search for growth windows. There will be many opportunities in the market, so keep an eye on that. There's so much uncertainty and complexity that there are no definite good or bads in business decisions anymore, but only better or worse. We need to embrace uncertainty and rather than fight it. And in uncertainty, being open-minded and curious, asking more questions, experimenting and learning fast is the winning approach. And on the leader side, transparency, visibility, and reliability are indispensable to get over this. So good luck to everyone.
Yeah, I should say these words also refers to business agility, right?
Yes.
So
right.
time is going fast, and thank you so much, Pınar, for your sharing. That was really valuable conversation for me and our attendees. Thanks again.
It was wonderful to chat with you, Ridwan, as always. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks so much to Business Agility Institute for giving me this chance. Looking forward to the live session.
Yeah, me too.